Nancy Pelosi thanked him for being murdered, apparently, because. But it was that press conference was so wild because I don't even know why she was speaking in the first place. Like, why was this ancient white woman speaking anyway? Like, don't they have a black Democrat to go out and say something?
Standing right next to her.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, somebody was standing next to her that were masked, so I'm sorry, but a short-haired black woman was standing next to her nodding.
Karen Bass on the right.
Karen Bass.
And then I don't know, I can't recognize the woman to her left, but hold on, let me show this. So in case people don't know, this is what happened when the verdict was announced. Chauvin was found guilty of manslaughter and murder. And this is how Nancy Pelosi responded to it.
So again, thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice, for being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that? Call out for your mom. Millions of people around the world who came out for justice. Your name will always be synonymous.
Yeah, I actually suspect, did you hear George Floyd's girlfriend making kind of a similar kind of comment?
No.
To Pelosi? But I can't prove it. And this is certainly not a comment intended to let Pelosi off the hook in any way. But I suspect that she heard her say it and felt as though, well, if she said it, it must be a good thing to say. And obviously no one's going to come for the girlfriend of the guy, but sometimes people who love you and care can say things that are not necessarily advised.
But that's actually worse. That's actually worse to be that presumptuous that you can
get away with saying
like
the thing that the person's
intimate partner of someone. Yeah, that's actually even worse. That's actually even worse.
Yeah, right. Well, I suspect that it's like, you know how sometimes Biden has said these things and you get the impression that like he said it a bunch of times in front of some other black people who co-signed it. And so that's how he comes out all big and bold on TV talking about you ain't black. Like that has the fingerprint of a black yes man on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's so much confidence. Like your average white person isn't going to be saying it with their full chest like that,
right?
Unless they got sign off from some idiot.
Yeah. Although with Biden, I feel like he could have that energy regardless, but most people don't. But yeah, I see what you mean. It got like a stamp of approval, they think, right?
Well, like with Biden, so many times when he says something like that, he actually prefaces it by saying, I know I'm not supposed to say this, right, or I know I get in trouble for saying this, which is proof that he has in fact said it before, and that some of the black people in his life have actually advised him against it wisely. But he is just one bold, cool cat.
I mean, look, when you've lived and loved with Corn Pop
and Strom Thurmond.
Yeah, you learn a lot from Corn Pop. You take some license.
My feeling about Nancy Pelosi's statement is that it's the kind of statement that you make when, not because you're like a conscious racist necessarily, whatever that means and whoever cares, but it's indicative of a lack of thoughtfulness about the value of a life that from the outside feels very different from your own. And if you're of the mindset that someone who is poor or who has been involved in the criminal justice system or who is black is probably not going to accomplish much in quotation marks by your kind of culturally distinct standards, it can start to easily feel like, well, at least now his life means something because it's attached to this movement. And you can only really believe or say something like that if you don't have an appreciation for George Floyd as a man who woke up in the morning and, you know, cleaned the toothpaste off the sink for his girlfriend or picked his daughter up and twirled her around. Like the little things that make up everyone's life. And I think that sometimes Black people aren't seen in that way. And that movie about Thingy Station, Fruitville Station.
Yeah.
I think one of the most powerful things about it is that it did such a beautiful job of illustrating the humanity of like a father-daughter relationship and these little tiny humanizing things that make up a person's life, but so rarely are Black people generally, but more discreetly like poor and working class Black people given that sort of treatment. And film and media are the only places that people like Pelosi really have access to what it's like for us to be human beings in the full breadth of our humanity. Like, what is a human being that hasn't gone to Oberlin? What is a human being that doesn't work in my office place? What happens? It's like how people can't think about what happens when their teachers go home. I think it's how some white people think about Black people. Like you can't imagine them in any space outside of the stereotypical space. And that's what's so heartbreaking about the comment. Not that Nancy is just out of touch or like trying to be evil, but that it's indicative of how a lot of white people see Black people, particularly Black people who aren't middle class or upper middle class, who like fit some like conventional metrics. And I think you're seeing that with some of the conversation that's happening around the young woman who was shot the same day George Floyd verdict came down. And that's something that I think everyone just needs to sit with a little bit.
Well, here's someone else who said something kind of similar to what Pelosi said when there were some good employment numbers.
Equal justice under the law must mean that every American receives equal treatment in every encounter with law enforcement, regardless of race, color, gender, or creed. They have to receive fair treatment from law enforcement. They have to receive it. We all saw what happened last week. We can't let that happen.
So first of all, there's a similarity in the kind of reliving it. Like, did you see he said mom? He called out to his mom. Wasn't that awful? There's this casualness to it where it's like they're just like mentioning it. It gives it like an anecdotal flavor.
Yeah. Yeah, like you're telling a water cooler story.
Yeah, like it doesn't have the like gravitas.
It's like if you were talking about like a celebrity break. Did you hear about A-Rod and J-Lo? Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
I was really rooting for them.
Yeah. With Trump, though, honestly, like I actually believe he's like legitimately like thinking about it in real time. Which is not a pro-Trump thing. I just think he really is. I mean, he encourages this behavior.
Yeah.
You know, he totally encourages this behavior.
Also, what happened last week? We can't let that happen. Hopefully, George is looking down right now and saying, there's a great thing that's happening for our country. There's a great day for him. It's a great day for everybody. This is a great day for everybody. This is a great, great day in terms of equality. It's really what our Constitution requires, and it's what our country is all about. I just want to finish by saying, to save the economy, we passed several pieces of critical legislation.
I mean, he's much crasser and inappropriate, obviously, but I feel like there's a similar thing.
I don't think he was less appropriate. I don't think he was crasser,
really?
actually. Yeah, because his actual phrasing was, I hope George is looking down.
Right.
And this is
You're
a
right.
great day. Saying that, I like,
Yeah,
that's very different than saying, thank you, George, for being murdered. That's actually very different.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I hope you're looking down and hoping that's not really like necessarily offensive. Like, just to say, I hope people say that about a lot all the time.
He was announcing like some good job numbers report.
Oh, okay. Well, then yes, that's pretty.
So that's
bad.
what. Yeah.
That's pretty bad then.